What's going on, guys? It's your boy Brando, aka 214, and this past week, what I would consider to be one of, if not the greatest, not only One Piece opening, but openings of all time dropped. One Piece opening 26. I love this opening. It sounds so good, but not only does it sound so good, the visuals not only are so beautiful, but they have so many hidden details behind them. And I've watched it so many times, and I found a good amount, so I figured I'd go ahead and drop a video breaking down the ones that I've seen. Also, should mention, there will be spoilers for any non-manga readers, because I will be going into some very, very big manga spoilers, as well as maybe showing some panels on screen. As the opening opens up, we see a completely blue ocean with clouds going by, and the one other thing we can see is the Thousand Sunny placed in the middle of the screen. As we begin to slowly or quickly zoom in to the Thousand Sunny, I believe the shot we see here is the same shot that happens at the end of the opening, which is when Luffy states his dream. His dream of what we don't know yet, but you can see here the same shot, the same positioning of the Straw Hats. We then zoom into Luffy at the end as the rest of the Straw Hat crew are walking away from Egghead, but within the actual letters of One Piece, you can see within Egghead. This then transitions into the Vega Force 1, Frankie's robot, holding the Sunny, an early part of Egghead, as well as going through different scenes of the two groups splitting up, as well as Luffy underneath Egghead looking at the robot, which we know is where Vegapunk is being held, which transitions into Vegapunk, with the other Vegapunks circling around, going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6 there. We then see the caution tape pop up as CP0 members Kaku, Lucci, and Stussy from left to right are behind Vegapunk as he panics, as well as the masks coming in front signifying their CP0 status. And if you look closely at the shoulder, or where the shoulder would be, of Lucci's mask, you can even see the mask of Hattori, his pet pigeon. This scene, obviously, we know is the scene of Luffy and Zoro sitting on the couch, an iconic scene. This scene takes place after they have already defeated CP0, and just out of frame at their feet, you would see Kaku and Lucci, as you can see in this manga panel right here. The next frames of the opening zoom by pretty quickly, so I'll break them down quickly. Here, we see Vegapunk and the rest of the Vegapunks pushing through the mirror, or through the window. Next are the Marines, Kizaru and the other newcomers, as well as Garp up top, are then pushed down by Buggy to his left. Obviously this is Cross Guild. To his left, you can see Crocodile. To the right, you see Mihawk, who are all looking back as Luffy is doing his slingshot that he uses against Lucci as he rushes down and seemingly kicks through the camera to bring down the goggles that he also does in that same moment. We then get multiple shots of Gear 5 Luffy, which I assume this seemed to be the same fight against Kizaru actually, instead of Lucci, in which Luffy breaks through and grabs Kizaru. We then cut to Kobe and Hibaru running through Flillet Island or Pirate Island as we see Avalo Pizarro, which we know has the Island fruit peering through the actual head, who it moves now in the hands as well. That obviously being foreshadowing to what will happen with Kobe with Honesty Punch as he shatters through the island with his fist. We then see a shot of Jinbei, Luffy, and Chopper floating. In the background, we see that is Bonnie, and in this moment is when these three are fighting the pacifista Kuma, and we find out that Bonnie is related to Kuma, and Bonnie turns them into old men or children, as we see as they float through the air, their old form and young form are then revealed. This scene is also filled with little small Easter eggs to the arc in One Piece in general. If you look in the back, you can just barely see Saint J. Garcia Saturn. You can also see at the bottom left, you can see at the beginning a little bit of Kuma's shirt, the little sign that is on Kuma's shirt. And then we transition off of Egghead to what is Beppo, Shachi, and Penguin, who then turn into woman, because we know that is the Devil Fruit ability of Doc Q. So we know this to be foreshadowing to the attack on Law of Blackbeard. We then see Sword with Evil Pirates in the background, transitioning to Happy Pirates because of Hibari's flower gun. Then we have Sentomaru with the new pacifistas, to a wonderful shot with coming in with the music of Kizaru flying in the air, going up above that level of Egghead, where the Straw Hats are trying to leave, trying to get back to the ship before he shoots up. We then have Kuma, who's on Kalabaka Queendom with the Revolutionaries, who is trying to escape. To S Shark, which we see diving underneath the water, but was actually the ground because he has the same fruit as Senor Pink. Here's Bonnie being trapped in the big warm eddy. We see obviously the young Sentomaru talking to Kizaru, which is a deep connection between the two, which sort of also impacts the morality of Sentomaru and his actions as well as Kizaru. And as we see the light leave the finger and blast through the wall, we actually know this is secretly Bonnie. Bonnie's blasting through the wall after she got kicked from Kizaru. We then get a beautiful shot, one of my favorite shots of this just red scene of Shaka looking in as you can see the CP agents that are held captive behind this glass wall. This is actually, spoilers, right before Shaka's death from the hands of York. This then transfers near perfectly into this scene of the Seraphim as Snake, as Shark, and as Hawk. And as well we see a hand here. This hand is York, which is, you know, is the Egghead Traitor, and was the one that activated the Seraphim to go after the Vegapunks, and it works perfectly coming right after that scene earlier with Shaka. After that, we go into this great part that goes through pretty much all of not only Luffy, but the Straw Hats outfits over the series. We see, just to name a few, we see it starts with Egghead, it goes to post-time skip, or more specifically actually Onigashima, when he has the coat over his shoulders, then to Wano, then to Whole Cake, beginning of Whole Cake. Then there is, I believe this is Dressrosa. This is Lucy. This should be Zoe, I think. Or maybe I'm missing something on that one. Then there is a pre-time, post-time skip. This is Marineford, I believe. And in this specific part right here, it goes to the way the ground is set up is a bunch of different arcs of the series. Right now he's walking on the Marineford ground, so he has his Marineford outfit. He continues to walk, and he has his post-time skip outfit. And as Luffy switches to the snow, which actually I believe that snow is Punk Hazard, which means that the original one that I said wasn't in fact Zoe, was Punk Hazard. Even in this shot right here, we have Luffy in Whole Cake, as well as Nami in Whole Cake, but Zoro is in his Wano outfit. We know that at this point, of course, he wasn't at Whole Cake, he was in Wano. And here comes Sanji with his wedding outfit. You know, these iconic outfits. As they're walking here, you can see the pants of Wano Sanji, or Nagashima Sanji to be specific. And then here we are, back to our post-time skip outfits, as they jump and switch into their Egghead outfits. Love this scene right here, I love it. We then switch to one of, if not my favorite scene in the entire opening so far. We have Lucci. This is specifically Awakened Devil Fruit Lucci, as you can see the black smoke around the shoulders, fighting Luffy. And this scene, as they disrupt the ground, a gear flies through the air, and this of course transfers into the Devil Fruit ability of Useless Kid, which switches to a quick shot of all of the fights to be seen in the opening, or in the arc, I should say, which I don't know if you can even call this a fight, but we have Kid and Shanks, Blackbeard, and Law, which happens on Winter Island. You can see in the background, it's sort of, you know, it's an island aesthetic. Garp and Kuzan Aokiji on Full Lead Island. S-Hawk and Zoro in the control room of Vegapunk headquarters. And finishes off once again with the Luffy and Lucci fight, connecting with a double hockey punch. And in this blink or you'll miss it moment, as the two fists connect of Lucci and Luffy, they transition into a flame. We know this flame to be from Sabo when he breaks into the room with the empty throne. And as that happens, you can see a black arrow coming out with the flame, which we know to be Eam, and how Eam attacks, as we've seen recently in those chapters. Which then transitions into Sabo, transitioning up and looking up as you see the black crows sort of ascend from his back. Now, I believe the most obvious, or rather the most blatant meaning of the black crows are Karasu, who is another member of the Revolutionary Army, but black crows in general have a symbol of change, of freedom, and I think that ties into, of course, we know Sabo was there to try and help Nefertari Cobra before he passed away, but he also passed on telling Sabo to let Vivi and Luffy know, or let Vivi know about the will of D and all of these things, which are a very big symbol of change, as well as just Revolutionary Army in general. And as that transitions into some news coups, which transition into Big News Morgans and Wapple, which we know, of course. And if you look just barely in between the feathery hand of Big News Morgan, you can see Nefertari Vivi just barely in there. As well, you then see the books raining down. We know this to be the original O'Hara incident, which we found out that the books were actually saved, but they were buried in a little hole, which transitions into these two men holding down their flowers. This specifically is Dragon and Vegapunk standing over O'Hara after the incident. This is also where Dragon asks Vegapunk to join his revolutionary army. We then get this next shot of one sword, which we can assume this specific one sword to either be, Eam, which we know that Eam was one of the kings or queens of the 20 kingdoms. But my guess is that this is probably Nefertari Lily, which we know was the only one of the 20 kingdoms that didn't stay. We know that the swords represent that. As we transition here, and that sword fades away, and we see the rest of the swords there, which you know the swords all represent. They were left by the rulers of the 20 kingdoms. And then we see at the top of the empty throne, Eam once again sitting by themselves. We then get this beautiful shot of Sabo bleeding out, standing upwards, and as he begins to move, you see Kid. It transitions to Kid, seamlessly transitions to Kid as Kid begins to fall down, switching to Law as he tries to stand back up, but falls again before Kobe comes and rises up. And I think this is obviously a red herring, showing that that Law and Kid lose their fights, while Sabo and Kobe are able to get away. Who is escaping out of the hole in the wall, which you know she then gets to Wapple, and Wapple gets her out. And then another beautiful transition into Jewelry Bonnie, who is right in front of the large paw that we know has Kuma's memories, which is going to be a heartbreaking scene. As it zooms into the paw, which you could also argue looks a lot like the sun, and we know that Bonnie's connection to the sun and sun god, specifically to Nika, which immediately transitions into a quick shot of Luffy and the rest of the Straw Hats, specifically the Monster Trio, as they step forward into this beautiful shot of them walking across the continent, across the world, and on their way to Egghead Island. I adore this opening. I think this opening is so good. The music by itself, I'm sure you can go into the lyrics and figure out, a lot more, a deeper meaning to everything that's in the opening. But overall, I am looking very forward to this arc in the anime, seeing all the fights and all the moments go down. I love One Piece, I love you all. This has been Brando, People 214, signing out. Peace!